There comes a point as a dungeon master, every dungeon master faces this, when you are building your world and you think that you've got it perfect, you've got it made, you've got everything planned out and ready to go. And inevitably, your players will go off the rails. And this is a moment that can be agonizing, exciting. It can fill you with all sorts of emotions because on one hand, you've planned something. You've planned a wonderful encounter for your players. And then on the other hand, your players are diverting from that plan, spoiling the plans, I don't want to say, but at the same time, they're exploring the world around them, and they're exploring your world that you've made. And tonight, what we're going to be discussing is how to be a real-time GM, or how it is that you can adjust on the fly and essentially improv in such a way that it feels like that was the plan all along. So we'll give it a moment for a couple people to show up, and then we'll get started. Instagram, come on over to YouTube, hang out, join the chat, and you can see the down camera. All right, so when we're talking about the real-time GM, the first thing that comes to my mind is the idea that arrives from video games, and specifically the Nintendo 64. I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with this old system, but the Nintendo 64 was probably my first moment where I played like a legitimate first-person shooter. It makes me think of things like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. And in that, you were the player. And this is not like Duke Nukem where you were the player, but there was only the walls around you and you had to follow those walls. In Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, there was essentially the open map, and you could navigate wherever you wanted to within that map. But here's the kicker, is because of the system and how quickly the system could render the surroundings, there would be times where if you turned around too quickly, you would just be faced with the gray of the ambiguous distance. It wasn't made, it wasn't there. You could only see kind of the vague, large objects off in the distance. And as you got closer, more and more details would render the closer you got. And this is the exact same principle that we, as game masters, are attempting to accomplish. We want to garner that same feel that, yeah, there are objects out there in the distance, but the closer you get to them, the more details that there are. And so even if a player turns or hops off the rails and is just faced with the gray screen of uncreated content, there are still objects out there, and more specifically tools that I'll be showing you that we can use to help our players render that world around them and make it feel just like the real thing. Because I don't know about you, even though I can remember, yeah, there was gray moments off in the distance, the ambiguous distance, it still felt real. It never once ruined the moment of the game. That moment in game never felt like, oh man, we're waiting so long for this to render, kind of like it does nowadays because you expect that perfect detail. Back then, it was perfectly normal for things to render as you went through the game, and I don't remember ever feeling discouraged by that. It was normal, and the memories that come from those games are the exact same. John, I'm glad that you're here on YouTube. Frontman Militia, you too, I'm glad you're here. Awesome. So let's talk about, make sure I'm in my, on my screen, the real-time Game Master. The real-time Game Master, and what we can do to help us create that for our players. That feeling of, yeah, things render as we get closer, details emerge the closer we get, but it never detracts from the game. It never detracts from anything because it's just, oh yeah, well, let's explore that a little bit more. And you do, and it creates a fun and engaging opportunity for your players to invest in your world. So the first thing that we want to talk about is, of course, I'm not going to go into specific details about it tonight because I have other videos about it. But the 5-room dungeon is a great tool. The 5-room dungeon is a great plot tool. It's a tool for you to use so that you can make stuff up quickly and still have a good structure, so that at no point you're just wallowing in the lostness of your game. You're wallowing and not knowing what to do, because this is a great structure that tells you what to do. So I would encourage you, check out other videos in other playlists, or go to my link tree that will eventually be in the description of this video, so that you can learn a little bit more about the 5-room dungeon, and specifically John 4, who is pretty much considered the grandfather, the mastermind of this structure. And then I like to use what I refer to as the 3-2-1 method. This is another kind of flesh structure content that we can use so that we are covering our bases. Because what this does is it makes you think about, hey, I need to make 3 scenes. I need to have 2 combats ready. And I need 1 roleplay, meaningful roleplay. What that means is that is providing your hook, or providing the secret that your players will latch onto. And that is extremely important, because this, if you are a minimalist prep, if you're not here for the prep scene, if you just want to Dungeons and Dragons, this is definitely going to be useful for you. Because what this does is it allows you, while you're prepping, to, okay, I need, let's see, the blacksmith, he'll be our hook. He'll give us our quest giver. So we make ourselves a blacksmith. Well, we should probably have the blacksmith shop, the smithy. Okay? And maybe because our players are generally antagonistic themselves, we will provide our first combat opportunity a little scuffle with a snivelly little brat. Yes, the mayor's little boy who just is too good to, you're too good to bow to your betters. Yes. So we'll have a snivelly brat, the mayor's boy, that could create an interesting, and it doesn't have to be like a straight up knockdown, drag out combat. This could be more of a problem solving, a utility encounter, right? Something to provide our players a problem to overcome, whether that's beat the tar out of the snivelly mayor's boy, or find a way to talk your way out of it, or magic your way out of it, or however the players overcome that. And the blacksmith, he gives us a secret or a hook, says, hey, my family normally gets ore from a local mine, and that's why my prices are so high, because your players went to him looking for new armor or a new weapon or something, and he says, hey, it's all twice as expensive right now because I don't have the normal ore available. If you could go and clear out the goblins that have taken over my family mine or something like that, whatever, I don't know, that's our secret, the goblins in the mine, that's our hook. Then I will give you a 50% discount on your next purchase. And I just so happen to have a set of plate available. And so that plate suddenly goes from like 1,800 gold pieces to 600 gold pieces, which for a new party, that could be a huge reward to get their cleric into some heavy plate finally. So that could be a great opportunity. So we'll probably need the mine, right? Our second here, fight the goblins, right? And then maybe we'll have a more specific aspect of the mine where it's like the goblin throne room or something like that, right? Where the actual final battle will take place. And so you could see just in the last literally 5 minutes, I've essentially mapped out an entire encounter, all on a whim. I didn't think this up beforehand. I didn't think about what we were going to do for this video tonight. I literally made that up in the last 5 minutes. And it's that easy. If you have, the concept of, okay, we need 3 scenes, we need 2 encounters. It doesn't have to be combat. It's 2 problems to solve, and then 1 meaningful role play. There's going to be role play happening, of course, all over the place. It might be with the Snivelly Brat. It might be anywhere else. But the role play will happen. We need 1 meaningful role play, and that's specifically referring to, hey, he has a quest for us, or he has a mission for us, a secret for us to find out. And these are my go-to tools. There have been times where, because I want to explore this aspect of my world, I don't really plan that much. All that I plan is this. I plan a couple of problems for my players to solve, and then those moments occur, and I just drop them on my players. For instance, recently I've been doing a lot of one-shots. Monthly, I do one-shots the first weekend of every month. And so from all of my campaigns, whatever players want to come and play, they can come and they can play in a one-shot in a new setting or a different setting from the one that they normally have their campaign in. And most recently, I'm still playing in The Great Green Sea. If you want to check out that playlist, maybe I'll drop a thingy here, right? You can go check out that playlist of The Great Green Sea and the homebrew world that we made there. There's an entire, I think it's 6 videos of us working together here on YouTube to make an all-new setting. And I've been using these one-shots to explore that setting and explore the characters in that setting. And I largely enter those sessions with about this much written on my page, because I want to explore what the players do. I want to see where they will organically gravitate towards, because the world is open. It's an open world. And I, through a gratuitous amount of Dungeons and Dragons, have become comfortable with just being the real-time DM and making stuff up on the fly. Now, that's not to say that you have to be. You don't have to be. You can plan as much as you feel that you need, but I would encourage you, if you ever feel like you are experiencing Dungeon Master burnout, meaning all of the planning, all of the scheduling, it's essentially too much. It's starting to feel like too much, and I would encourage you to take a step back. Take a step back from planning. And here's why. It's a philosophy term that I've encountered called the backwards law. And so that we don't delve into some hardcore, so things I know. Oh, Brian, good to have you, man. Always glad to be here. If your improv game is strong, feel free to minimize your planning. But the backwards law is what it boils down to super abbreviate. It boils down to the more you focus on getting a good thing, the more you are experiencing a bad one. For instance, to use a real world example, the more you focus on, for those of us that are on our fitness journeys, right? The more you focus on the number on the scale. Oh, the number on the scale is not moving. My weight is not coming down. Every time you step on the scale, you are having a bad experience because you are reliving a negative moment over and over and over again. And so if we remove the scale and just continue with our fitness journey, suddenly we're having a much better time because we're not constantly living in that negativity. And so for those of us that really want to have a great Dungeon Master experience and really create a cool game for our players, we need to take a step back. We need to take a step back from the planning, because every time we look at the paper and we see that it's not done, we are creating a negative experience in our mind because it's not done. Now, I know we're getting into like some hardcore psychological stuff here, right? But it really boils down to every time we focus on, oh, I need to plan, I've not planned, I haven't done enough, you are creating a negative experience for yourself. And I'm not saying everybody will, but you'll probably at one point or another experience Dungeon Master burnout, where you're just like, okay, I'm done. Like I need someone else to take over. And I think that this idea, the backwards law here, is part of why I have been a weekly DM for years. Literally years now. I've had a game every single weekend. And it's because I've minimized my planning. And here is a secret, plot twist, a secret for you when you are preparing for your games. And I need you to prepare by doing a little bit more ahead of time, but it's going to save you in the long run. And here is an example of that. Maybe I can zoom in on that. Here, let me see. Let me find my mouse. Down cam. Let's see how much I can actually zoom in with this camera. That way we can see it a little bit better. Oh yeah, here we go. That looks like that's all that this camera will zoom in. Okay. So I'll probably just hold it up a little bit. This is my cheat sheet for Bastion Irontree, which is the main setting, the main city, super city for my Great Green Sea campaign. And what you see here is literally just names, lists of names. Names of people, names of places, names of inns, names of things, right? These are all just names. And whenever my players go to something or encounter something and I haven't made it, well, you know what? The Dry Burrows, that sounds like a great name for this inn. Boom. And all I did was I went to Fantasy Name Generator, I copy-pasted a list, put it in a document, copy-pasted a list, put it in a document, copy-pasted a list, until I filled up 3 columns of one page. And then whenever I use it, I make a note of it so that I remember that for future sessions. Like, oh yeah, Captain Shauna Scrawnybeard. That is who that is. And that is what provides me with a lot of my filler content. That way you don't have to have everything planned. Things I know, kind of similar to the destination disappointment philosophy. Yeah, I'll be happy when I make the better campaign, and you never really enjoy your current one. Very, very similar, right? The more we focus on the better, the less we're realizing how much we have now. But this is just preparing to improv, because the more you're able to minimize your content, minimize what goes onto the page, the more you're able to put on the page. Let's think about what I'm actually saying with that. The less I put onto a page, here, let me zoom back out that way. It's not annoying everybody. I'm sure it's only annoying me. That's okay. That's okay too. Boom. All right, apply. Very good. Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh my goodness, where did I go? What happened? Weird. Hold on, folks. Technical difficulties. My camera has like jumped off of the screen. There. How's that? That's better. All right. So, the objective here. Let me actually. I'm going to. Here's my Great Green Sea campaign booklet. I'm going to throw open to an encounter. Here we go. Here is one of the one-shots that we had. Yeah. And this is going to be enlightening to any of my players that eventually watch this. Let me pull out this single sheet. That way my sheet protector isn't blinding everybody. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. So, taking a look at this, I'm sorry that the pencil is a little bit illegible. Okay? But you can see... Uh-oh. Did we lose audio? No? We're back? Oh. Sorry, everybody. Apparently that screen was all jacked up. What I'm showing you here is an example from the Great Green Sea campaign. This is literally the single sheet of paper that I approached one of my one-shots with, and this is what happened. So, what we have here is we have me outlining the five-step encounter, just so that I have that available and ready to remember. I have the 1, 2, 3, right? 1 role play, 2 combat encounters, 3 scenes, okay? And this is so that I can remember that. Oh, this is 3 scenes, this is 2 combat encounters, and this is 1 role play, okay? And I'm sorry that pencil is probably illegible. Just echo. Is it echoing again? Gosh dang it. I'm sorry, everybody. My mic has been ding-donging around. Alright. Let me know right now if my echo is good or no good on this page. Alright. Let me know if the echo is still around. Okay. And that is literally what I came into this with. Okay? No, you're good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Please, in the future, if there is ever a moment where something is not working, please let me know. Instagram, come to YouTube. There's 5 of you just chilling over here. Come over to YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, all the things. So you can see I've got my 5-room dungeon just laid out so that I don't forget it, so I can use that if I need to. Echo is good. Okay, cool. I've got my 3, 2, 1 laid out just so that I have it noted. Okay. And then I have the bad guy. I have my main bad guy, my main combat encounter. I've got the AC, the HP, some of the modifiers, and what he does, right? +8 to hit, a DC 15 Constitution save, and an absolutely nuclear attack. Okay, I'm sorry the pencil isn't legible. So you can see all the pencil is my preparation. This was me before session. All of the pen is what happened during the session. Okay, all of the pen is me filling things in as we explored it with the players. When you moved, it sounded like you had 2 mics set up. Yeah, I'll have to check. Now to the notes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll have to check that other screen. All of the pen is specifically things that didn't get written down until I took note of them during the session. That means that with the players' help, with whatever the players explored, between them and their ideas and me and my ideas, we created more of the world. And so that's why I store all of my sheets. I store them in a binder, a 3-ring binder with just sheets, sheet protectors. And so all of the world that we have made together is right here in this book. I can go back to old encounters. I can find out what that NPC's name is. I can remember what it is that people were doing, or what a bad guy's name was. And that provides me a huge asset in the future, because then, because remember, the whole point of this, whether or not we get distracted, the whole point of this was to talk about being the real-time GM. Okay? And we have to be okay with making stuff up on the fly and letting our players help us build our world. And next week, we're going to be talking about creating valuable NPCs. Not just memorable. Everybody loves Boblin the Goblin because he's a memorable NPC. Oh, that guy with the eye patch and the peg leg, and he was so funny, and you did the voice, and he was hilarious. That's great. That's great. That's fun. But we can have fun, and we can have fun and valuable. Okay, we need that NPC to be doing something for us. Because if it's just there, if it just exists for the sake of existing, okay. When you move on, it doesn't matter if it's forgotten, because it's not valuable. We want to, if we're going to bother to make things, it needs to have value to our world, so that in the future, when a player or a different campaign or whatever goes back through this part of your world and they encounter something that they helped create, that is absolutely glorious. If you weren't here for the very beginning of this episode, if you just came in as we were streaming, at the beginning of this episode, we talked about video game rendering and how in the ambiguous distance, you see just kind of the gray horizon and large objects. And the closer you get, the more they render and the more details they are, and you're able to see more about the world. That's the exact same thing that we're doing here as a real-time GM. Using this general structure and a couple of extra tools in our pocket to help us out, we can create a world in whatever direction our players are focused. The rest of the world, that's great. It's all well and good that you have created an elaborate ecosystem with all of the minutiae. If your players never see it, it doesn't matter. That's the end of it, right? If you're going to do that, go write a book, because someone will absolutely love your Tolkien level of attention to detail, right? I need to know, like, the weave of the dwarves' beards. Okay, man, right? That's cool. Put it in a book and give it to the world. Here at this table, you have 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 other people. Sorry, down camera. 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 other people that could be helping you make this world together. And when your players are helping you render your world in real time, that is a moment that they are engaged. No longer is your player sitting there playing Ponbarians on their phone. No, they're engaged. They're focused on what's happening because they have input. They can tell you, hey, what is a local custom that they have? Oh, and your players sit there and they look at each other and they say, well, they all wear like half masks over half of their face, and they're these elaborately carved wooden masks, and they show the entire detail and history of the family, and it's a rite of passage to create your own mask, and you can tell the people's rank in the society by the quality of the material that the mask is made of. So you know you're just like the poorest kid on the block if you have this embroidered mask, but you know that you're some elite warrior if you've got this gold filigreed beautiful mask. Like, ooh, that is juicy cultural goodness that your players helped you make because you brought them in and you became a real-time GM. We've got a couple things in the chat. Banter. I have to say, going back to writing on paper feels so good. Doing it all on PC in real time was rather clunky. Yeah, that is huge to me. I know that there's a lot of people that that like to play online, and they use all these wonderful online resources. I tell you what, I've got 4, 5, 6, 7 of these binders of just different campaigns and notes, and the nostalgia, the beautiful nostalgia that you feel when you can pull a binder off the shelf because your players are in that part of the world finally, and you open it up and you remember a campaign from 3 or 4 or 7 years ago. And it's really cool because then you're using NPCs and player characters that existed back then and are still existing in your world. And you have a player that remembers that. And they notice that. And there's, wait a second, is this Paul's character? This is Paul's character, isn't it? And you're like, yeah, yes, it's freaking wonderful. That continuity is incredible. And I encourage you to do whatever you need to do. Take whatever notes you need to take. Whatever platform works for you. That is going to create beautiful, engaging moments for your players. And the level of investment that you're going to see from your players is going to absolutely skyrocket. Very cool. Very cool. All right, everybody. I don't have anything else for tonight. Remember, check out next week because we're going to be talking about memorable NPCs, how to make them memorable, and not just memorable, but valuable. And the level of importance that has in your campaign, creating something that is valuable to your campaign, someone that can actually throw these hooks and secrets around. This blacksmith needs to be a valuable NPC, not just a memorable one. And next week we'll talk about how we can do that. If that's it, if we have no other questions, I'll go ahead and close off for the evening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have fun, and as always, take care of your players. All right. Now that everybody, all the others are gone, we can have the after party. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'll give it just a few moments, and then I'm gonna kick everybody off. Ooh, maybe I'm gonna poke at this real quick. Hello, audio echo. Man, no other audio is on. I wonder what's going on this screen. All right. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.